Hello there, wonderful humans. Welcome to the Second Brain in Notion Essentials course. What we're going to be walking through in this mini course are the fundamentals of the Second Brain methodology specifically applied to Notion and its unique features. This mini course for beginners and intermediate Notion users is the companion course to this free Second Brain Notion template, which has helped over 3,000 people turn information overwhelm into meaningful creative output. As you walk through the course, we'll be using this template so you can put theory into practice quicker and gain an experiential sense of how to apply the principles of the Second Brain methodology in Notion. As I mentioned later in this course, this is just one of an almost infinite amount of ways to build a second brain in Notion. This is not the way, the only way, the tried and tested way, but it has helped a lot of people around the world, and I've been using it personally and also in my consulting arrangements, helping people like you to use Notion more effectively. Before diving in, I wanted to say a huge thank you to the people who've been supporting my work so far. And if you like this video, like and subscribe to stay updated for any of my future tutorials and courses. So without further ado, let's dive into the Second Brain Notion Essentials mini course. In this course, we're going to be learning the key habits, frameworks, and processes behind this term that you've probably heard quite a bit of in the world of personal productivity, building a second brain. At the end of this video, I'll also show you how to duplicate the second brain template so that you can use it in your Notion workspace. When you complete this course, you'll have built your very own personal knowledge management system in Notion using the P.A.R.A framework and second brain methodology. You'll have practiced some of the core habits of effective personal knowledge management and understood how to leverage some of Notion's advanced features to supercharge your second brain and expand your creative output. What you won't learn are core project management techniques. I'm also not going to be giving too many applied examples of custom second brain setups. This course is also not a strict formula or one-size-fits-all solution. It's designed to give you a foundation and expose you to the core habits of building a second brain so that you can take them on and customize what you've learned here to suit your personal needs, goals, and style. Also, don't worry if some of the terms here are new to you. In the next few lessons, I'll be breaking down all the lingo and we'll be walking through everything step by step, while also offering advanced Notion users the option to take things a little further. So what are those steps and what does the map of this course look like? The course has been broken into 7 modules. The first 2 modules will be more of a setup, where we'll be building the basic structure of your second brain in Notion to get you ready for the next 4 modules, where you'll be engaging with the core methods, practices, and habits of building a second brain. Finally, there's a bonus module where I'll be leaving some material to support the deeply curious. The first module, which you're already in, is an introduction, where I'll be getting you ready to make the most out of this course. In module 2, we'll be implementing the P.A.R.A framework, which is the backbone of your second brain in Notion, and personalizing it a little bit. We'll then shift gears into module 3, where you'll be learning about the methods for capturing information to put in your second brain. Module 4 is all about the methods for organizing what comes into your second brain. In module 5, we'll be exploring some techniques to distill the essential information from your notes so that you can use those insights for your projects and learning. And in module 6, we'll be looking at how to express from your second brain by directing all the information you've been nurturing and distilling towards completing projects. By the end of this, you'll have learned to code. Not in a computer programming way, but in a personal knowledge management workflow kind of way. Each video is a short burst of me talking to introduce a few concepts, followed by a screen recording or walkthrough in Notion, and occasionally a mini challenge. I want to wrap up this introduction with going over the core benefits of building a second brain in Notion and a few tips on how to get the most out of this course. By building a second brain in Notion, you'll notice some immediate benefits, and over time you'll notice various others as you interact with your system over the months and years. It's potentially a life-changing event to know that your life's experiences, knowledge, resources, and learning are all in one place that you can create from. By implementing your second brain in Notion, you can expect to find what you need when you need it, compared to just keeping information in your head. And by building a Notion specifically, you'll take full advantage of its unique features that other tools just don't have. It gives you the richness of a personal Wikipedia, combined with powerful and simple project management features to help you turn your experience into tangible projects. You'll also begin to notice that you can engineer creativity by making connections between diverse ideas and information, and then wrapping them in your personal experience and unique point of view. Having a second brain also transforms you in a very different way, from being a passive consumer to a mindful creator. Not only will the quality of the information you interact with increase, but you'll begin to notice it in your output as well. Creating in Notion gives you an overview of all of your tasks and projects, allowing you to zero in and devote more attention to the things that inspire you instead of distracting you. And over time, you'll stop starting from scratch every single time by creating templates and snippets of writing as sort of digital Lego bricks that you can use to take on bigger projects and complete them faster. Often folk who have built a second brain with me can more easily share their process and get more frequent feedback on projects. This is because the small steps are just as easily trackable and shareable as the final result of the project. Okay, that sounds a little superhuman, and I'm not promising you that you'll achieve all of those benefits just by taking this course, but they're all on the table after you take what you've learned here and begin using your second brain in Notion frequently. Before getting into your first exercise, I want to remind you to take advantage of the fact that you are in a video-based course. If you want me to speak slower, use the speed controls to slow me down. If I'm taking too long to explain something, just speed me up. And last but certainly not least, if you need me to repeat myself, use the video controls to rewind me. If you feel like you need to take a break and let something sink in, by all means, just please pause me and I'll be right here waiting for you. Probably like many of us, myself included, you've also got into some bad video viewing habits with all the streaming services that we've got around. And while binging might be a great way to consume an entire season of your favorite show, it's not the best way to learn something new. Education isn't meant to be binged, and because of this, I'll probably remind you to take breaks. I also encourage you to let what you just learned sink in and pace the course to be completed in just a little under a week, which is roughly a module per day. Thanks again for joining me, and if you have any questions as you're going along through the course, comment below and I'll try to respond as quickly as possible. All right, let's get you set up. To try and bring everyone who starts the course onto a similar page, I've created a Notion template that I'll be using throughout this course. While there are many ways to build a second brain in Notion, I want beginners to get from theory to practice more quickly and allow more advanced Notion users to gracefully transition from their old systems. We're not diving into anything too technical right now. The goal of the exercise is simply to duplicate the template and put it in your workspace. A link is available in the description below. If you've purchased this course after downloading the free template, then you can either reduplicate this new one or follow along so that your workspace looks kind of similar. I'm going to walk through duplicating the new template from the link in case you're not familiar with copying Notion templates. Go through the link in the comments section of this video. In there, you'll arrive at this template. This template is still in my workspace, not yours. And to get it into your workspace, you'll have to click duplicate in the top right corner. After that, you should be automatically routed back to your personal workspace, where you can see that the template has been duplicated to your sidebar. Your workspace should look something similar like this, with a huge list of random pages on the left and this new second brain template at the top, which means you're ready to go. Next lesson, I'll be getting into some more theory behind building a second brain and introduce you to the various sections inside this template. P.A.R.A is an answer to the most central question at the heart of note-taking. How do I organize all of my notes to find what I need when I need it? The importance of using P.A.R.A is not to organize your notes by topics such as economics, psychology, or baking, or by type of information such as quotes or images. Instead, P.A.R.A suggests that you should categorize information into 4 buckets: projects, areas, resources, and archive. It's structured to have the most actionable information at the top, the projects, and the long life information that you need less frequently at the bottom in archives. Here's a rundown of all the different parts of P.A.R.A. Projects, have a goal or outcome with a fixed deadline and may require multiple work sessions. Examples of projects include organizing and hosting a birthday party, delivering a sales presentation, writing an article or a blog post, or preparing a product launch. Within projects, you can create the individual tasks required to complete that project. Areas are parts of your life where you have some role or responsibility to it, with no fixed end date. Examples of areas are productivity, health, travel, finances. These are very different to projects because they never really end. You're always going to have to keep track of your finances and look after your health. An area might have one or multiple projects inside. For example, a project inside the area of finances might be file my taxes for this year. A project inside the area of health might be a 30-day smoothie diet. The resources table is for things that you're interested in, which can be recycled and used in projects or shared easily with colleagues or friends. This includes things like recipes, interviews, and user research templates, PDFs, diagrams, slide decks, and books. A, the final thing, archive, contains completed projects or inactive things such as completed events, inactive side projects, past client projects, and stuff that doesn't have a home yet. Why is this so powerful? Well, your Notion sidebar will look much tidier, but really the power is in directing and interlinking all of your notes, methods, templates, and insights towards projects. By doing this, your years of experience and learning becomes actionable as it's tied to meaningful outcomes and impact in the real world. Another way this is powerful is that when we relate notes to areas, which are parts of our lives that we're ongoingly maintaining and have responsibility for, we increase the note's discoverability. If we increase the discoverability, then hopefully it will be of service to our future self. If we use the old paradigm of note categorization by topic or type, then we may never think to use that information ever again, as it was never pointed to a meaningful outcome or an area of responsibility. To get you started using P.A.R.A, we're going to do some spring cleaning on your sidebar.
Okay, let's tidy up that workspace. You cannot focus and do your best work if all of your files are crowding up your workspace and fighting for your attention. We're going to kick things off by moving everything into our P.A.R.A databases. If you're unsure what category a note goes into, then we're going to put it into the archive for you to organize it later. I know this sounds kind of high stakes, like putting an envelope full of money inside a postbox that's locked. You'll never be able to get it out again, but don't stress. P.A.R.A is a dynamic system, meaning that anything that lives in resources might become a project one day, and projects might get so big that they become areas. Often things from my archive are moved all the way back up to the projects, so don't freak out. Everything is allowed to move freely in P.A.R.A. Okay, once you've got the template duplicated in your workspace, it should look something like this. We're going to go from something that looks like this to something that looks like that. First, go to your second brain template at the top, and then create a new page above the Knowledge Hub and call it Knowledge Hub. We're going to move all of these databases into a page so that we can start bringing them into the sidebar. To create a new page, you can use the / command and type page and then enter. Let's name that Knowledge Hub. And if you want, you can create a new page by pressing the plus icon that's next to any of these blocks here and typing page and then enter. This is for the Actions database. Now I'm going to go through and move each of these databases into the page by grabbing the sidebar and then putting in the page. I don't need the titles, so I'll delete those and just grab the databases. If you like, you can use the turn into feature as well to turn that into a page. There, my title just became a page. For the area section, you might want to highlight all of these parts and then move it into the areas page. Great. Now your template should look something like this, just 7 pages with databases in them. What we're going to go do now is click and drag each of these pages into the sidebar. Try and put them underneath the second brain template in the same order that they arrived in. This allows us to navigate quickly between them in the future. Sometimes clicking between pages takes too long also, so let's give this a go. Hit Command P and you'll open Notion's Quick Search. If you type in projects and press enter, you'll go to the projects page way quicker than clicking around. Try navigating between pages using this in the future. It's often way faster. Once you've got all of your major databases laid out in the sidebar like this, then we'll start moving notes into the P.A.R.A framework. Don't move anything into the Knowledge Hub for now. And as you begin moving things, if you're unsure if it's a project, area, or resource, then rewatch the relevant part of the video so you can recap on the definition. I encourage you to take your best guess at what database your notes should go into, but if you really don't know, or if something hasn't been touched for a while, then move it into the archive. See here, this task list is probably my old task list. I'll move it into Actions. Personal home, I'm not sure what that is, so I'll put it in the archive. These quick notes go into the notes. My journal is a resource. All my books sounds like a resource. Psychology notes in notes. Rebuild my website is a project. Meeting notes into notes. A guide to self-love, that could be a resource. How to code in JavaScript notes, that's probably going to go into notes as well. Remember, if something goes into the wrong place, you can always move it again using the Move To feature. Let's say that I went to the resources page and a guide to self-love was actually a project that I was working on. I can click the settings bar on the side and say Move To. I can pick the page that I want to move it to. Let's say it's projects. But what I have to be careful for is that there's a projects page and a projects database. The projects database right now has a nice icon so I can notice it, and I also use the hashtag as an identifier. So click that and that will arrive inside this projects database with no tag at the moment. After doing this, you'll notice that everything you've just moved is probably sat at the bottom of a page somewhere. As you can see in my resources, they're just sat there. The quickest way to move them is to highlight them, grab the settings bar, and find that line between different cells in a database. Don't put it into one page, otherwise you'll lose all of them into that page. Try and find the line and drop it in there. After all of that, your Notion sidebar should look something like this. It's way tidier, right? In the next video, we're going to be completing this setup of P.A.R.A in your workspace, so hold on tight.
By the end of this video, you're going to have a projects database full of your current and upcoming projects by starting with a brain dump of all the information you might be carrying around in your head. How are we defining a project? A project is a workload that achieves a goal in a given amount of time. That means it probably has an end date and might have multiple tasks to complete. Projects often require multiple work sessions, so bear in mind if something doesn't require multiple work sessions like write an email to John, then it might just be a task. You can keep track of that in the Actions database or whatever task manager you're using. Examples of projects are writing a thesis or essay, building a website, fixing the kitchen oven, or delivering a presentation to your team. Now we know what a project is, we're going to populate your projects table with all your current and upcoming projects.
Okay, let's get all of your projects out of your head with a brain dump. Under your projects database, hit /BU and then enter. This will create a bulleted list, or just press the plus button and do the same. The / command is much faster, so try to master it, as we'll be using it a lot throughout this course. In this bulleted list, type out all of the projects you have on your mind. I'm going to make a list using the examples I shared earlier. Now pause the video here and write a list of your open projects. When you're done, just press play again to continue. Great, you should have a list of projects in a bulleted list. Now let's select all of them and move them in the to-do pile of this Kanban view. If you're not on the Kanban view, then click here and you can see all the different views that you can see this information in. Each different view will allow you to see information in a different visual style. For instance, this is a calendar. The Kanban allows you to see things in a to-do, in process, and done. And then also this projects by energy allows you to see how much energy you're giving to different projects. Experiment with these different views and see which ones you like. To see all of this information, then click the default view, and this will open up all of the different properties that are available in this project's database. If you want to change the energy that you're giving something, change this property. If you want to change the status of this project, change this property. And if you want to add the deadlines, then you can go ahead and do that here. This will update in the relevant view and allow you to access this information in powerful and different ways. In the next video, we're going to set up all of your areas.
Sometimes there are parts of your life that are just bigger than one project. In this video, we're looking at the relationship between the projects and the area database. What is an area and why do I need them? Well, areas are a part of your life where you have a certain role or responsibility. They're different to projects because they don't have end dates. For example, personal finance or health and well-being is an area because you don't ever stop managing your finances or looking after your health. They just keep on going. So projects are kind of smaller than areas, or at least you can have multiple projects in different areas of your life. For example, filling my taxes for this year is a project under the personal finance area, or a 30-day green smoothie diet is a project under health and wellness. To get your area set up, we're going to start with another brain dump.
Let's navigate to our areas page. Inside are two area tables, but notice how this one has a little arrow next to the title. This means that it's a linked database. Linked databases allow you to show the same database in different parts of your Notion workspace. It contains all the same information, but you can apply unique views and filters. The changes you make to filters and views will only affect that specific linked database. The original database is just below. Notice how it doesn't have an arrow. Okay, so they're the same database and they look a little bit different. How did I do that? Well, one has a filter for the tag business area, and the other one has a filter for the tag personal. If you want to see all of the areas, both personal and business, then in the original database, there's a list view. Here we can see all of the areas. Let's keep this in the list view before continuing. Like our projects brain dump, we're going to do an areas brain dump. Your database should be full of any notes which you think are areas, plus my suggested areas. Before continuing, delete any of the areas that I created which aren't relevant to you. Pause now if you need to. Okay, same again. Below, just create a bulleted list with /BU and enter. And then write out all the areas that you have an ongoing role or responsibility in. It can be helpful to think about your family life, your world of work, your studies. Remember, don't overthink it, because you can always just change and add them later. So some examples that I can imagine are health and wellness. One might be home renovations. Another is university studies. Another area I can imagine is marketing. Let's say I do website design and development, and the good old one, personal finances. Pause the video now and press play when you think you've covered all of the major ones. Great. Let's highlight all of those again and move them into the areas database. Now let's mark if it's a business area or a personal area. I'm going to toggle back to the gallery view. Nice. Now these areas are kind of boring and they don't have any covers and images and icons, so feel free to add those. And that's it for areas at the moment. Your workspace is nearly ready to go. In the next video, we're going to take a look at how to create connections across databases using the relationship database column type. This allows us to create connections between our projects, areas, resources, and archives. Okay, so you should have this list of projects in your projects database and a list of areas of responsibility in your areas database. If you haven't taken the time to beautify them in some way, you can go ahead and add some pretty icons and some covers. Just pause the video and take some time to do that, then come back. Often in Notion, if you're using more than one database, there may come a time when you want to connect items across those databases. This is extremely helpful to visualize connections across notes. Do you remember in the introduction to P.A.R.A lesson in Module 1, I mentioned that projects are somehow smaller than areas, and that you can have many projects under one area? In this lesson, we'll be relating all the projects we just brain dumped to their respected areas using the relation property in Notion's databases. To get started, let's begin by showing you what a relation property type does and how you can set them up. If you look at the projects database and change it to the table view, this is called the default view here, then you can see all the properties and columns that this projects database contains. I've marked all of the relational databases with this RD in brackets here, so that you can find them quickly and know exactly what they do. Find the related areas column and click inside of it. This will list all of the pages from your areas database. It's kind of cool, huh? What I want you to do now is take some time to relate all of your projects to an area. So for me, client 1 is probably a marketing strategy client. Client 2 is also going to be marketing strategy. New website for cool client is a web design area. So go through and do this with your projects. You might find that you forgot a key area of your life, and don't worry, that kind of happens. If you want to go back to the areas database and create it, go ahead and do that. But for now, just pause the video and do that. When you're done, press play and we'll continue. Okay, awesome. So now you should have got all of your projects related to some area. I've even made a couple different areas which I missed before. See, I created the sales area and university master's studies. I want you to go back to the areas page and click on the area which has the most projects in it. So I'm going to go into marketing strategy. Inside marketing strategy, I can see at a glance that I have 2 projects that have to do with marketing strategy. This allows me to have an awareness of how much work I'm taking on in a specific area of my life. I'll be expanding on this a little in the Organize module, where we'll be building dashboards for areas that allow you to manage more effectively and have all of the information you need for that area at your fingertips. If I want to see what's going on in that project, I can click in here and select Client 1, and I'll be brought over to the project page there. If I go back out and back to marketing strategy, I can also navigate to see Client 2 and freely flow between all the related pages quite quickly here. To create new relations, just create a new column. You can do this by going to the end of the table and pressing the plus icon, and then selecting the relation property type from the advanced section. If you just type the name of the database that you want to find, so let's say we want to relate our projects to the archive, I'll type in archive, and then you can click it to create the relation. Easy peasy. After I rename this, I'll know what it is, and voila. If you're feeling adventurous, try linking your resources to specific areas. In the next lesson and upcoming module, we're going to be looking at capturing new information and how to be mindful of your information diet, which is just as important as your physical diet. As my auntie used to say, garbage in, garbage out.
Welcome to the capture module, where we're exploring the capture habit, a core principle of building a second brain. Capture is all about the inputs, and is the first stage of the code process we discussed in previous videos. Why do we want to make capturing things a habit? Well, our mind is amazing at producing a constant stream of thoughts and ideas. It's very generative, but retaining information is a bit harder, as anyone knows. Whenever we interact with ideas or information that we find inspiring, surprising, useful, or personal, then we want to capture that idea as soon as possible, because our brains are not going to hold on to it for a very long period of time. When setting up your second brain, it's important to think about which capture tools you're going to use to bring highlights and sections from things that you read, watch, and listen to back into Notion. Your capture tools open portals for information into your personal knowledge management system. Therefore, your capture tools will greatly influence the quality, frequency, and relevance of the information you interact with in your second brain. There's this common saying that you are what you eat, and this is just as true for your information diet as it is for your physical diet. To put the capture habit principle into practice, we're going to install the Notion Web Clipper as your first tool and walk through how to use it to capture information and save it to the Knowledge Hub database. If you're already familiar with the Notion Web Clipper, I've included a list in the video description below full of other tools which you can try for capturing from books, podcasts, videos, and more. You're going to need Google Chrome as your web browser, so if you don't have that installed yet, pause the video, download it, and click play to continue.
Once you've got Chrome installed, go to the Notion Web Clipper page on the Chrome Web Store and install it. I've left a link to it just below this video. If you hit Add to Chrome and say Add Extension, then it will pop up over here, but might disappear. To pin it to this toolbar here, we need to click the jigsaw icon, and I have far too many extensions, but if you scroll through and find the Notion Web Clipper and hit this pin icon, then it will just stay there in the toolbar. Great. Now that you've got it installed, search for an interesting article or blog post that you'll want to read later. I wanted to find out how to speak to dolphins, so I found this article on Doggo News. And now that I have the Notion web clipper, I can save this to my Notion workspace by clicking the shortcut in Chrome. I have to select what table and database I want this to be added to, so I'm going to search for the Knowledge Hub. Perfect. Make sure that you pick the database and not the page, otherwise it will just dump this article in the bottom and not put it inside the database. So find the Knowledge Hub database, and you can modify the text here so that it's more memorable or that you know specifically what this page is about. So I might want to say that this is from Doggo News, just to add some more context. If you hit Save Page and then say Open in Notion, then you can see what it looks like in your workspace. As you can see, it's created this new page in the Knowledge Hub database. It's told me when I created it, when I last edited this. It's also copied over all the text and images, which is kind of cool. Just bear in mind that not every article or page does this. Sometimes you'll have to copy the specific text that you want and bring it over into Notion. If I navigate back to my Knowledge Hub page, then you can see that it's created this new entry in the database. If it's not at the top, then you can change the sort here, and I've put it for a descending order in the time that it was created. So that puts all the latest stuff at the top. I can go ahead and add what type this is. So if I search for article, then I can do that. And I've also given you a bunch of things which you could link this to, like what area it is, and also a status. For now, just add what type this is. This is an article. And now I want to go back and get another interesting article. So if I go over here, I was looking for how to build a landing page. So if I find this article interesting, useful, or insightful, then I can also do exactly the same and bring it over to my Knowledge Hub. That title looks perfect. It's going to the same database. I'll click Save Page and open in Notion. Great, that looks like it worked, and it even copied across all the images and the headlines. That's perfect. What I want to do now is go back to the Knowledge Hub and see what type of information this is. It's an article. And now both my articles are ready here in my Notion space for me to extract the key insights and important information out of them. In the Distill module, I'll show you how to do that with a few methods. In the text below this video, I've linked to some other capture tools. We just saw how to get stuff from your web browser into Notion, but there are other tools for capturing information from podcasts, YouTube videos, and just about anywhere really. If you're feeling adventurous, go try them out, or just go on to the next lesson where I'll be setting you up with a challenge. So areas are great. They help you to visualize what projects, resources, and notes are related to key areas of your life. If I go into an area page, you can see that it shows me all of those things at a glance. Over time, as you make connections between the Knowledge Hub, projects, resources, and notes using backlinking and relations, you can see at a glance how much work you're taking on in different parts of your life, and also how your knowledge, resources, and notes are growing with your experience in that area. But so far, most of the area pages might have been left as a blank page, and left you thinking, what am I meant to put in here? What I want to explore in this walkthrough is how you can make these area pages more actionable by creating contextual dashboards. What is a contextual dashboard, you might ask? It's a place for you to visualize the essential information you need at a glance to help you move that area towards its goals. It's like being in the driver's seat of your car and having all of the buttons, indicators, and controls you need within an arm's reach. Sometimes you might want to share that area page with collaborators. Another way contextual dashboards can be helpful is by using Notion's invite features so that team members can have a shared hub that they can work from. A third use for the areas page is a contextual dashboard that's structured a bit more like a mini website. allowing you to share all of the resources and notes on a certain area if someone ever asks you for an overview of what you've been doing or what you've done in that area. Creating this nicely decorated contextual dashboard in an area page might include an introduction about your experience in this area and links to all of your helpful resources. You could also create this in a resource page. It's really up to you. The possibilities are endless, but for this demo, I'm going to walk through how I would set up a contextual dashboard for a team working in the marketing strategy area in my areas database. To get things kicked off, I'm going to use the new area template inside the marketing strategy page. This will create 4 new linked databases to my knowledge hub, my projects, my resources, and my notes. Notice how in the projects database I can see client 1 and 2 because they've already been related to this area. Each of these databases uses a slightly more advanced Notion feature called self-referential databases to filter for only the notes that are relevant to the name of this area. To see how self-referential databases work, I've left a link to a more detailed video in the top up here. This is super helpful because now every time I want to relate a new Knowledge Hub source, project, resource, or note to this area, it's going to show up here, so I only see the notes that are relevant for this specific area. To demonstrate that, let's make a new resource called Marketing Plan Template and link it to the marketing strategy area. If I go through this link here, you can see that it's showing up in the resources link database. Kind of cool, huh? You might be asking yourself, well, isn't that just what these things and these fields at the top do? Why is that any different? Well, yeah, it is kind of the same, but you don't get the same flexibility and customization options as you do if they're in linked databases. Okay, so what are we going to do with all of these linked databases? Well, they're the start for our contextual dashboard. Let's say that I'm working with a small team. I want this page to be our shared team dashboard, a place that we can go to every morning at the start of the day and know exactly what we should be working on with all the resources at our fingertips. Okay, so I'm going to start creating this dashboard and speak out loud as I'm building. I want to start by making this a full width page, which I can do up here and click on full width. I'm going to create a team gallery so the marketing team always knows who's who. I'll create that under here. So I'll hit /gallery, call it team. Right now, the card preview is showing me something which is inside the page, but I want it to show the cover of each page. First, I'll go in and add covers, and I'll just use some generic images from Unsplash by typing user, and this shows me some images of cool humans. Adding a second team member. So right now I'm grabbing them all from Unsplash, but you can quite easily upload an image to the cover here using the upload feature. So those are not showing yet, so I have to press properties and click on the card preview and change that to the page cover. Great, they're a little tall, so I'm going to change also the card size to small. There we go. And now I have my team gallery. Next, I'm going to create a table so we all know what tasks need to be done and add a person property to it so I can assign tasks to different team members. I'm going to create another database underneath this one and a regular inline table and call this team to-dos. I'll add a checkbox so I know if it's completed or not. I'll add that responsible person field so I can assign tasks and change the property type to person. Right now I can only select me because I'm the only person in this workspace, but if I wanted to invite somebody using all of the different share features. I also want to create a deadline so I know when things need to be completed and change the property type to date. Add some dates. I also want to be able to see the same to-do database in a calendar view, so I'm going to create another calendar down here via a linked database. So click link database. I want to find that same database, team to-dos. Here it is. And add a calendar view. I'll call it cal view. Let's give these some names. Task 1, Task 2, Task 3. And notice how I can see them here. Same database, just different location. Great. The calendar view doesn't need to take up so much space, so I'm going to add this resources database next to it. However, to get 2 columns in Notion, you kind of need to do this little trick. I'm going to add a blank column underneath this, and then duplicate this block by selecting it first and hitting Command D. Now I have these 2 blank blocks. If I click and drag one of them next to it, I get the blue line to appear on the side of the empty block. If I let go, then I now have 2 columns. I'm going to move my calendar into one of those columns and see how the line only goes halfway across the page. Great. And then I'm going to move the resources database up to the second column. Nice. I'm going to do exactly the same with the to-dos and the team gallery. Nice. So this is shaping up to be quite pretty now. I've got my to-dos, I've got my calendar, I can see who my team is. There's a bunch of resources here. I'll make a couple more just to make it look a little bit more realistic. And the Knowledge Hub, I don't want to have this always available, so I'm going to hide it inside a toggle and then click and drag that database into that toggle just so it's tucked away and hidden. The projects page I'll leave underneath the to-dos calendar. So that didn't copy into the same column. I want to put it just underneath. Great. And then this notes database is actually my own personal notes. So I don't want that. I can just delete it because it's a linked database. Then press /list. Scroll down a little bit and I get an inline list database. This is called team notes. And maybe I want to give it some tags. So I'll press this is meeting notes in the tags. Maybe this one is to do with strategy, and note number 3 can also be a meeting note. I'll move the Knowledge Hub right to the bottom. Great. I also want to be able to have all of my tools quickly accessible for this team. So what I want to do is create a row of bookmarks across the top so that we can jump into our favorite apps as quickly as possible. In Chrome, I've already loaded HubSpot, Hootsuite, and Buffer. These are just 3 different marketing tools which a team might use. So I'll copy and paste that into my Notion workspace at the top and create a bookmark. I'll do the same for Hootsuite, put that underneath, Buffer, and then arrange that into 3 columns by moving everything around like that. Nice. So it's a rough sketch, but hopefully you can see how contextual dashboards can become a way for you to organize information in powerful ways that support specific areas of your life to move towards their goals. As I said, this is just one possibility for your areas page. Really, it will depend on the goals and purpose of each area.
You made it! Thanks for taking the time to stick through the Second Brain Notion Essentials mini course. Hopefully you've started to personalize your template and begun to understand how all the major areas of P.A.R.A interact and work together. Building a second brain or a personal knowledge management system can be a life-changing moment. As some folk who are part of my online school have expressed, they can feel a massive shift in the way that they tend to projects. And often many of them notice a fundamental change in the way that they approach work and information. If you're keen to take things on and learn about the key habits and processes of capturing, organizing, distilling, and expressing, I've included a link to the full course in the comment section below. I know that you're super busy, so I've designed each lesson to be super short and actionable, just like the videos you've been watching. Inside, there's over 15 walkthroughs which you can complete at your own pace, in between studies or after work on the weekends. Not only that, but you'll get access to direct feedback from me and some of my team, as well as a collection of other free courses on productivity, self-directed learning, and self-mastery. Again, thanks for watching, and if you want to support the channel, like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter to stay updated with any upcoming courses, templates, and content.